Human rights of children. What are children's rights? Children's rights were recognized after the First World War with the adoption of the Declaration of Geneva in 1924. The process of recognition of children's rights continued thanks to the UN with the adoption of Declaration of Children's Rights in 1959. The recognition of child's interest in his rights became real on the 20th of November 1989 with the adoption of the International Convention of the Rights of the Child, which is the first international legally binding text recognizing all the fundamental rights of the child. My inquiry questions, the three of them, are the rights of provision, for example, the distribution of resources, rights to protect, for example, from abuse to neglect, rights of participation, for example, the right to be heard in matters affecting the child. What is provision? Provision refers to sharing and distribution. It includes the right to possess, receive, or have access to certain resources and services. The convention says that all state parties have to undertake measures to children to the maximum extent of their available resources. Provision is a general concept, and within it, resource is a valuable word. It demonstrates a wide variety of things. For example, money, mental and physical space, power, opportunities, knowledge, love, friendships, self-esteem, and nature. Distribution of resources. Children have the right to an adequate standard of living, healthcare, education and services, and to play and recreation. This means a balanced diet, a warm bed to sleep in, and access to schooling. All children are given the resource field where they should have access to more social space also. All kids have the right to have access on all of the areas and other things listed above. What is protection? Protection stands for the right to be shielded from certain acts and practices. Protection ranges from social and individual misuses. Protection, though, is much more than parenting. It is not restricted to just two parents, and it should be more perceived as a privacy issue. Protection focuses on many different aspects ranging from all sorts of laws. Abuse and neglect. Children have the right to protection from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination. This exemplifies the right to safe places for children to play, constructive child rearing behavior, and acknowledgement of the evolving capacities of children. Children have the rights so that anyone of any sex has to take into account of when educating, improving the development of their well-being, it has to be constructed for the capacity of the kid. What is participation? Participation stands for the rights to do things, express oneself, and have effective voice as an individual child and as a larger group. If minors are given new chances of participation in co-determination, they will become social subjects instead of objects of the politics of childhood alongside adults. Progression and speech. Children have the right to participate in communities and have programming services for themselves. This includes children's involvement in libraries and community programs, youth voice activities, and involving children as decision makers. This provides children with the freedom of speech and allows them to share and express themselves in ways they are comfortable with. Social and cultural rights are a big factor, and that all children have the right to feel accepted. The cultural rights movement has provoked attention to protect the rights of groups of people or their culture in similar fashion to the manner in which the human rights movement has brought attention to the needs of individuals throughout the world. Views and opinions. Across the world, the idealistic Western vision of children is strongly contested across the world. Each country have different practices and practices that don't all have the same needs and wants. Western countries do not take into consideration different practices and traditions, which has led to all countries' child rights to differ. Children's rights are criticized in many countries as much as leaving children open for abuse. For example, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, for example, forbids the enlistment of children for armed conflict, but fails to specify the age of which this rule applies. In reality, it permits the enlistment of 11-year-old adults. The protection outlined in the text, therefore, meaningless. Improvements for Canada. In 2013, UNICEF published a scorecard on child well-being in almost 30 of the world's countries that are the most developed. Canada ranked 17th, with Slovenia and Czech Republic both higher up than Canada. The study focused on material well-being, health and safety, education, behavior and risk, and housing and environment. Practices Canada can provide to improve, nurturing the whole child, emphasize positive approaches, improve relationships with families, early investment into children's health, empower children, influence children to shape their culture, mutual accountability. Conclusion. In conclusion, my inquiry questions, right of provision, rights of protection, and rights of participation demonstrates us with what one defines it means from a legal standpoint. After doing research over the three sorts of rights, it allowed me to see what countries have done well and have bad over time. Children's rights are progressing towards being better over time, but many improvements can be made towards countries that may not be fully developed yet. Canada on its own has done well, but for a fully developed country, they definitely have the resources to improve from where we are today. The laws have been put in place with good reasoning to create an overall improved lifestyle for children. Thank you.